One day after school, my mother was driving me to what she said was a work appointment. She told me that she had a surprise waiting for me after she was done. After hours of driving, I noticed that she had taken us to a seaside town. The area was nice, vibrant and rural, which was very different to the busy and confined atmosphere of London that I was used to. I noticed she kept pointing out how nice this environment was, an opinion I agreed with, but felt confused as to why she kept mentioning it. We had arrived at the house of the appointment, and that's when she told me. This was our new home. Now, I don't remember when we had this conversation, but the topic of racism was brought up, with this area being mostly white, which was a contrast to our previous location, which was not. I was told that some people might not like me because of my features. Now, I was a 9-year-old who didn't even have a perception of race. Nonetheless, racism, I just thought people looked different. I didn't even think of different ethnic backgrounds, to be honest. I didn't even know that most of the UK was white. I didn't take the time to think about why people look different, but we do. And apparently that's going to be an issue for me. I remember my first racist encounter happened when I was walking home and some guy in a van had screamed the N-word at me while driving by. Now, to be honest, I didn't even really comprehend it. Even at 9 or 10 years old, I thought that even though that guy thinks he's superior to me, he will always be the opposite. If yelling slurs to kids walking down the street are his means of getting by, then his sentience will always be suppressed in a cycle of hatred and anger. I guess I should let sleeping dogs lie. When first joining a school down there, I was kind of expecting them all to be mini clan members, and I was delightfully surprised when they weren't. In my last year of primary school, I transitioned from my previous one to this one, and what caught me off guard was how kind everyone was. There was no transgression or prejudice. It's what taught me that racism isn't natural. It's either taught or develops over time as a result of ego. And my secondary school experience was what revealed that to me. Off the bat, I could tell people would always look at me funny. The environment was much larger, so unfamiliarity was a lot more attuned, and I noticed that's what most of it was. Unfamiliarity. The most memorable encounter I had was when a girl I was sitting next to in class told me that she felt like I should be in a specific poor area of town, quote unquote, banging everyone up. Which basically meant that she felt like I belonged in the most poor, ghetto and derived area of the entire county, antagonizing people and committing crime. I wonder what gave her that impression of me. As I was about to ask her that, her friend turned around and said, yeah, I agree, and he should too, while pointing at the only other black kid in the entire classroom. Needless to say, they had a fixed impression of black people and how black people should act, and they really contextualized how I was perceived by those around me for the rest of my secondary school experience. I noticed whenever I had a conversation, more times than less, it would come down to my race. No one was ever explicitly racist to me in a manner where they thought they were better than me, but there was always just a sense of disconnect, as in you don't view me as the same species as you view him. It's like no matter what I do or what I say, in their eyes they'll always perceive me as a black kid. All my individuality, complexities, and humanity will remain hidden. It's like I had to hear the same old, yo bro, he just said the N-word bro, do something man, or like, yo bro, I'm not racist, but I think these racist jokes degrading black people are hilarious. And like, don't get me wrong, I know there's a bit of like banter and like, humor here and there. I definitely indulged in it too. But it just gets to a point where it's like, is racism and dark humor the only thing you find funny? Okay, so what exactly is it that these white boys find so funny about slavery all the time? What is so funny about pretending to care about Black Lives Matter? What is so funny about black people just existing? It's like they see us as subhuman entertainment. These people I spent the last 4 years with see my existence as a joke. I had a Christopher Montesanti moment. It's like I was treated fine. I was never bullied or anything. I kind of was a bully, but we'll talk about that later. Even interactions with girls, when I started getting attention, initially it felt like fetishization, but this wasn't always the case. In most cases, were probably just because, they thought I was handsome or something, and wasn't, only associated with race. And I noticed that, a lot of people do see you as a gimmick. And when you're in this kind of environment, it kind of just forces you to detach. I know I keep using that word, detachment, but yeah, it does. It just makes you feel disconnected. Like, are these people really this stupid, or are they just playing ignorant? I can't tell. It's when I realized that I really don't care. The same level of detachment I had in my first racist encounter was something that stuck with me throughout my adolescence. The dehumanization that I felt was reciprocated towards them, and it made me view the world in a very shallow lens, and it definitely altered the way I acted and treated people. Like, I remember a lesson I learned about bullying. We had a class called Values every fortnight, And that's quite ironic because, this lesson was about learning integral values, about, kindness and respect. But me and my friends made it a recurring joke to relentlessly bully one of the kids there. We considered ourselves friends with him, so we didn't really deep what we were doing. Like, we just acted so unserious in his class, and I guess that enabled us even further. We would often just antagonize him, but we were still good friends at the end of the lesson, so we didn't think it was bullying. We had a seating plan, but we could switch seats in close proximity, and the teacher wouldn't notice. From this, we made it a tradition to try and avoid sitting next to him. Like, the ridiculousness of how much we were just shamelessly and relentlessly bullying him made this entire thing that much more funny in our eyes. Like, looking back, we were like genuinely putting this kid through like psychological torment. Like, genuinely, it's not even funny. Oh, come on guys, you can't sit in the classroom before the class even starts. That's just cheating. Again, the ridiculousness of how much we were just relentlessly bullying him is what made this thing that much more funny. We just go way too satire, and that's something I'm prone to doing to this day without even realizing. Anyways, I guess one day after class he got sick of my foolery and started hitting me in the face with a pen, which resulted in a tussle which had to get broken up by a teacher. After spending the rest of the day in isolation, I was greeted by my friend who told me that everyone at lunchtime was chanting my name, saying F, insert government name, all pushing the narrative that I started the fight and got my ass beat. Someone retrieved a picture of me from my photography class and used it as fire to fuel the angry mob that was after me. I remember feeling kind of shocked and confused, like, one, I didn't know this kid had so many friends, and also that I felt this severe reaction wasn't only born from that. Like, I've never spoken to these people in my entire life, and now they're all unanimously chanting my name in anger. Like, I didn't even know half these people knew I existed, but, obviously, of course they did. Nonetheless, I took it as a lesson about bullying and apologized to him, but then I came to realize that this kid was also an edgy little prick who would say the N-word and say racist jokes. That was probably a factor that fueled me to antagonize him in the first place. It's like, in this environment, I can't even learn an important and valuable lesson about bullying because I'm constantly being reminded that I'm so far removed from my environment. But to be honest with you, I think racism might just be a necessary societal hurdle for a white person, and what defines them is whether they're able to outgrow it and overcome it. Maybe the only reason why I wasn't racist too was because I wasn't able to be, and that's what I'm saying. It's just something they have to, learn and overcome. I was also terrible, yeah, and I do think the terribleness of my environment heavily affected the person I was during my teenage years. People are a product of their environment. And to say that the dehumanization that I felt detached me from meaningful connection and in turn made me dehumanize the people around me was definitely true. I mean, back to the girls thing, the way I saw relationships, girls, everything was completely altered, and I do think that was influenced by my surroundings. It is a lot harder to view people as general human beings with souls. I do think that if I stayed in London, I would have turned into a completely different person, but I'm not sure to what extent it would be. Me not having an ego comes from me not really caring about the external validation of my environment and being detached to it, and then feeling kind of secure in that sense where there's nothing that can really break my spirit or bring me down, not anything from these people at least. Whereas if I stayed in London, I probably would have been a lot more reactive to it because it likely would have been a lot more dangerous to stay detached to it. Egos often develop in environments that one feels susceptible or vulnerable to, so I guess my mind just chooses not to care when I don't need to. So when all is said and done, I guess I have racist white people to thank for my spiritual journey. And honestly, this attitude of just not caring what white people think of me has definitely stuck to me to this day. The day one subscribers know what I'm talking about, and people were bad, but people were also good too. It was a lot more mixed. I made some great friends from that area, some lifelong friends actually. When looking back on these years, I tend to always focus on the negative. But I only think I do that because I want an excuse to justify my own past behavior. We are shaped by our environments, yes, but there comes a point in your life where you have to really confront yourself and understand that you have more free will than you think, and that these experiences or traumas don't hold as much power over you than you believe. And maybe you are only using it as an excuse to hold growth and stay as you are, to not have to challenge your questionable actions and just continue on living that way. Even in the past year, I've fallen back into that mindset at the big age of 21. We all have the capacity to change, and we must look inwards to do so. The never-ending unbalanced conflict of this world will not continue to define my relationship with my soul and its greater purpose.